My internet's been a little bit slow this morning. So let's see, how are we doing? Good morning. So we have a movement and meditation class today. So we will move for the first 45 minutes, and then we'll end with 15 minutes of meditation. So make sure that you have something to sit on or any of the props you need for our final meditation. But other than that, we are going to start on our backs. And so you can go ahead and make yourself comfortable on your back. We'll start with some bridge work and centering on your breath in a bridge. But kind of have your head at one end of the mat just because of the movement we will get into after our bridge. But just take a few breaths to just be in constructive rest. So let your feet be wide, knees not together, and your hands can be wherever is comfortable for you. Hands on your belly, a hand on your heart, or just arms to the side. But really bring your awareness inside. You feel your body breathing. And our practice today will really focus on return, reconnect. Whenever we get off track, all we have to do is just turn around or take one step to the side. It's never too far away to get ourselves back on track. And with our practice, right, we just take that one breath at a time. We notice if we're wandering, we just come back. We just come back. So as we move through our practice today, we'll kind of take the same path several times. And just let yourself think about that return, that reconnection, and how instantaneous it can be. Let yourself breathe in and out of your nose just really easily and naturally. And let your feet come about sitting bone distance apart. And just find some rocks on your pelvis. Just forward and back. So lifting your tailbone and really grounding your lower back into the floor, and then tipping your tailbone toward the floor and really arching through your lower back. Just back and forth. And then find a neutral place and just rock side to side. So you might notice you need to push into one heel and then push into the other, just to tip your pelvis from side to side. And then we'll take that in a circle. So you can tip your pelvis to the right And then really ground down through your lower back and come to the top of your sacrum, and then push into your right heel to tip your pelvis to the left. And then bring it towards center and your tailbone tips toward the floor. Just go around in that circle one more time, and then we'll switch directions. So when you get to your exaggerated lower back arch and your tailbone down, just tip over to the left. Really use your belly to ground that lower back down, and then tip over to the right. Go that direction one more time. And then come to neutral. We'll roll over onto our right side and just use your right upper arm as a pillow. Bend your knees, just lay so your knees are bent, and just open your left knee up and then close it. Let's do that one more time there. And then we'll start to make some circles. So open your knee up and then internally rotate that femur bone and find some extension through your hip. Come back to center, and this time bring your knee into your chest. And then open it up toward the ceiling, internally rotate that thigh, and then find some hip extension. And then come around. Do that direction one more time. And then just switch. So engage that glute, really find your hip extension, and then externally rotate. Bring your knee up towards your armpit, into your chest, and around. And do one more in that direction. Engage that glute to extend, and then knee up toward the ceiling, knee to your armpit, and then rest there. Reach your left arm just straight out in front of you, and you can kind of relax through your right arm and just draw a rainbow with your fingertips on the floor. Sweep that arm overhead and then open yourself up into a twist, and then just come back. Sweep back around. And find some range of motion through that shoulder, opening as you just sweep your arm around. One last open. And then close. And now just take that left arm, kind of reach it in a diagonal and reach your left leg back behind you. And now sweep that left leg forward and your left arm back and just open. So just let your arm and your leg kind of reach as you roll back and forth on your side. So, just find that diagonal from your left foot to your left fingertips and just go back and forth. And the next time that left arm comes back, just roll back onto your back. This time we'll find a couple rounds of a slow sequential bridge. So really ground those lower back vertebrae into the floor. Lift your tailbone and then lift one vertebrae at a time to come up into a bridge. Pause at the top. Really lift up through your tailbone and then lower one vertebrae at a time. Find those mid-back vertebrae. Really use your belly to bring your lower back down. Your tailbone will come down last. Do one more slow round of bridge there. All the way down. And then roll to your left side. Use that left arm as a pillow. Stack your knees, just bent knees. And then lift your left knee and then lower it. And just lift and lower. This time lift And then internally rotate that femur bone, find some extension through your hips so you're really engaging your glute and kicking back. And then bring your knee back to where it started and this time up to your chest. And then open that knee toward the ceiling. Internally rotate, find that extension. And then come back around. Do one more. Really slow, mindful, controlled circle. And then we'll switch directions. So extend and then externally rotate knee to ceiling and around. And just use control to explore all around that socket, your acetabulum, your pelvis, and that head of your femur bone. Exploring that space. And then release the effort in your legs. Just take your right arm in front of you and sweep your fingertips overhead and open. And so you're just drawing a big rainbow here. Just sweep open and around. And just do whatever feels right with that left arm. Next time you reach that right arm forward, just take your right leg and reach it back. So you're a long diagonal line from your right foot to your right fingertips. And then switch directions. So just take that right foot and reach it to the left as you reach your right arm to the right. And just rock back and forth there a few times. Roll back onto your back. Setting up for that bridge. Ground through both of your feet. And then just lift your hips. Keep your gaze straight up at the ceiling. And then ground through your left heel. Just float your right foot up off the floor an inch or two. And then ground through your right heel. Float your left foot up off the floor an inch or two. And just back and forth. Try to keep your hips level with each other. So that lifted foot that hip might want to sink down. Try to keep them lifted. Just find this little tiny march back and forth. Just barely floating and unloading one foot and then the other. So left, right, left, and then lower yourself down. Lengthen your right leg up. And just hold the back of that right thigh. You can find some circles in your ankle. No need to have that knee super straight. Just greet your hamstring. And then push your thigh into your hands. Hands into your thigh. Will roll up to seated. And just lengthen through that right leg. Let your left knee fall out to the left. And then bend through that right knee and just find some circles with your ankle around your heel. And your spine can lean forward a little bit and back. And then switch directions. Just feel that relationship of like your core to what's happening here in your hip. So you find these little circles. Now take your left hand behind you and point your fingers away. Ground through that left hand. Feel strong through your shoulder. Rotate that right inner foot to the floor. And then we'll come up on your left knee for a modified side plank. Just reach your right arm high. And then reach it alongside your ear. Reach your right arm high and then reach that right leg up. And we'll just switch back and forth. So you can really feel those obliques turn on as you engage through that outer right hip to lift. And then let everything lengthen as you reach your right arm alongside your ear. Let's do that one more time. And then cartwheel your right hand to the floor. Lift your right heel, tuck your right toes, plant your hands like they were in a plank, and lift your left knee up into your chest. And then bring that left knee down. You'll lift your right leg straight back behind you and reach your left arm forward. And we'll switch between those two. So right toes to the floor. Use that belly to lift that left thigh into your chest. And then keep those lower ribs softening in. Don't arch your lower back, just lift your left arm, right leg. And lift your left arm, right leg. Keep your leg lifted. Plant your left hand. And then step this right foot outside of your right hand. So in this wide, low lunge, and find some circles of your hips. And play with straightening and bending that right leg as you kind of find some movement through your pelvis and feel that relationship of your femur bones to your pelvis here. And then find a neutral, central place. Really push down into that right heel and roll yourself upright. So now your shoulders stack over your pelvis. And just take your arms forward, really round your spine. And then open your arms up into a cactus. Ground down through your right heel and your left shin as you do this. And so as you reach forward, really round your upper spine, engage through your bum, and just notice the relationship of your rib cage to your pelvis as you move here. Release your arms, and we'll just toe heel the right foot in line with your left knee. Pause. And find your balance. And then pivot on your left knee to face the long edge of your mat. So now your right heel is in line with that left knee, and just bend deeply into that right knee and ankle. But just go to a place where you really feel like you have integrity and some freedom. Just add that left arm into a side bend as we bend. And then you can just open out, kind of like a baby warrior two here. Got our baby side angle pose. And then open out. And feel the foundation of your right heel, that left knee and shin to the floor. And find your side bend. And then we'll just cartwheel hands to frame that right foot. Just pivot on your left knee, step your right shin back, and just kneel down. So your shins are in line with each other. Give yourself a hug with your right elbow underneath. And just find some little circles of your thoracic spine here. So as you're kneeling and circling through your rib cage, notice what's happening in your belly. And feel that relationship with your hips. And we can start to let these circles maybe get a little bit bigger. You can even bring the backs of your hands together or fingers into your palm. And find your circles with eagle arms. And you can switch directions and maybe even come up to a standing kneel and then folding forward hips to heels. But just feel that integrity of your core and the connection of your pelvis to your core and your shoulders to your core. Let's do one more little exploration with your either hugging circle or your eagle arm circle. And sit back on your heels, release your arms, Just rock forward a little bit, cross your ankles underneath you, bring your bum back, lengthen your legs in front of you. We'll make our way onto our backs for bridge. Just lower down. We're just facing the other direction this time. And feet are on the floor. And we'll find those little marches again. So lift into your bridge and ground down through your left heel. Float your right foot just an inch or two off the floor and then ground. And just go back and forth. Connect it with your breath in a way that feels natural and intuitive. Your inhale creates intra-abdominal pressure that really stabilizes your spine. So it's okay to inhale on your effort. And then lower down. Bring the soles of your feet together. Bring the pinky edges of your feet to the floor. Let your knees go wide. And then push into the outer edges of your feet to lift your hips. And then lower. And lift. And lower. So we've got this Baddha Konasana or butterfly bridge happening here. Really lengthen your tailbone toward your heels. Feel that power in your glutes, but keep your front low ribs softening down. So not splaying out. So you keep some length in your lower back. Next time you lift your hips, just pause there and then pulse your knees a little closer to each other and then open them out, but your feet stay exactly as they are. So you're pushing your soles of your feet into each other, pinky toe edges of your feet into the floor. So just bring your knees closer and wider. One more time. And then gently lower your hips to the floor. Bring your right foot to the floor. Lift your left leg. You can loop your hands around the back of that left thigh and find some ankle circles. Just one way and then the other. Your knee doesn't need to be super straight. Pull your hands into your thigh, push your thigh into your hands. We'll use that to rock all the way up. Lengthen through that left leg. You can let your right knee fall to the side and then just soften through that knee and stir your ankles in some circles. So you're really grounding through that left heel. And you can let your pelvis and your spine sway with this movement and then go the other direction. And then end that. Ground your right hand behind you. Bring the inside edge of that left foot to the floor and come onto your right shin. Reach your left arm long and find a long side bend. So this modified side plank. And then sweep your left arm up, lift your left leg, and then lower down and find your side bend. Feel stable through your right arm so you can find some weight on the pinky edge of that arm. Externally rotate your upper arm bone so you feel solid in your shoulder. As you sweep your left arm up, lift that left leg, and then curve into your side bend. And then left hand will come to the floor like you would for plank. Tuck your left toes, and then lift that right knee up into your chest. And then ground your right shin, lift your left leg, and float your right arm forward. And switch between those two. So left toes tuck onto the floor. Lift that right thigh into your chest. And just back and forth here. Left leg, right arm. And that little plank crunch. Thigh into chest. Now don't over exaggerate your lower back curve. Really feel like you're lengthening with it. Long, straight spine. Lift your left leg and then step that left foot outside your right hand and find some movement in this low lunge. Some circles around through your hips. One direction and then the other. And then find yourself neutral in the center. Really ground through your left heel, right shin, and then just round your spine up. So push your foundation into the floor to roll yourself up. Reach your arms wide, and then really tuck. So think about shortening the space between the top of your pelvis and your lowest ribs as you reach your arms forward. And then you can open into a cactus. Connect it with your breath in a way that just really feels intuitive. You find this little crunch and reach, and then open. And just notice what you feel here as you kind of tuck your tailbone underneath, reach your arms forward, shorten the space between your ribcage and your pelvis. I certainly feel something in my psoas, my hip flexors there, and then open. Do that one more time. And then release your hands down. Toe heel your left foot so it comes in line with your right knee. And just find your balance here. And feel the connection of your big toe ball mound with the floor. Notice what little things in your ankles turn on. And then we'll pivot on the right knee. And find this little warrior two-ish, the mini warrior two here. And just bend a little through your left knee. And start to bring a side bend in there. And then just come back up. The side bend. And then come back up. It's kind of like we were doing on our backs, just those rainbow circles with your arm. And find your side bend. You can just pause there. And then hands to the floor. We'll come into kneeling. So just bring that left shin back, sit down on your heels. Left elbow underneath and give yourself a hug. And then just find some circles here with your thoracic spine first. So with that rib cage, let yourself go around. And then you can switch directions. You can keep your hug. Or you can bring the backs of your hands together, or maybe left fingertips into your right palm. And you can start to let your circles get bigger. And come into a standing kneel. But just feel that relationship of shoulders to core and pelvis to core. And switch directions. Just kind of let this be kind of fluid and free form. And then sit back on your heels. Release your hands. Cross your ankles behind you. Bum to the floor. Feet to the floor. You can hold on to the backs of your thighs. Just roll yourself back down. And set up for a little bit of bridge work again. Feet are sitting bone distance apart. And let your knees knock together. Now you may need to experiment with the position of your feet here. So this feels good through your pelvis and your knee joints. Push into your heels, lift your hips, and then just ground through your heels. Your toes can float. Let your knees go wide and then bring your hips back down. Knees together and lift. Knees wide and lower. Play with the position of your feet as you kind of make circles here with your bridge. Feel the stability of your pelvis. Let's go that direction one more time. Knees together, lift, knees wide and lower, and then we'll switch. So knees wide, lift, knees together and lower. Knees wide, lift, knees together and lower. And your circles could be tiny. Right, listen to your knees and what feels good. Ground through your heels and your toes can float. You just pivot around. One last circle there. And then lower yourself down. Bring that right knee into your chest, lengthen through that right leg. You can find some circles. Find a little bit of a stretch and then push that right thigh into your hands to roll yourself up. Let your left knee fall out to the left and then just find those circles with your ankle here. So you're bending through your knee. You're finding some internal and then external rotation of that femur bone in your hip socket, and then you can switch and just grounding through your heel, massaging that place. And find that right leg still. Reach your left arm behind you, fingers point away, and then come up onto your left shin. Right big toe side of your foot's to the floor. And just find your lift and then side bend here in your modified side plank. And your lift, you could play with circles. A circle one direction and then the other. But just really feel that integration of your leg into your pelvis. Feel the stability of your core. After you engage that, just let yourself lengthen. Let's do one more lift. Lift and circle. And find your side bend. And then right hand to the floor. Lift your right heel. Plant your hands like you would for plank. And then bring your left knee into your chest. Ground your left shin. Lift your right leg and left arm. And just back and forth there. So feel that integration of those extremities, your arms and legs, into that center. Left arm, right leg. Ground and lift everything. And then just lift your right leg. Step it outside of your right hand. So in your wide lunge, you can find some circles here. And then tuck those left toes, lift your left knee, and then ground your left heel to come into warrior two. Arrange your feet and let yourself feel some movement in your pelvis. Look down at your right big toe and just make sure you can see that right big toe inside of your right knee. And open your arms. And then we'll find our side angle. And then just come back up into your warrior two. So side angle. And you can just kind of sweep that left arm along the horizon to come into your warrior two. And side angle. And open. Side angle. And open. Do that one more time. And then straighten both legs, parallel your feet, and then bring your heels in, toes out, and sit down into a goddess. You can sway from side to side. And give yourself a hug, right elbow underneath, and find your circles with your upper body here. Really open your knees wide. Think about them tracking toward the pinky edge of your feet. And switch directions if you want to find your eagle arms here. But feel the relationships of your feet to your pelvis and to your belly, and your shoulders to your core. Let yourself even out circle-wise. And then we'll open back into that warrior two to the right. Find your side angle pose. And then open back up. Now one more time. As you find your side angle pose, just slide your left foot in a little bit. And then find a shortened warrior two. And then we'll move into half moon. Just lean forward. You can let your right hands hover. Bring your weight into that right heel to float your left foot up any amount. We'll take a big step with that left foot to the top of your mat. Let your feet go as wide as your mat. Heels in, toes out. Sway from side to side. And then just let yourself work your way into a squat as you sway. From side to side. You can pivot on your heels. You can bring hands to the floor. We're going to eventually make our way to a boat. Use your hands as much as you need to bring your bum to the floor and then float your legs. And then bring your feet to the floor and grab onto the backs of your thighs or let your arms float forward and make your way down to your back for your bridge. I'm going to scoot my head to the top of my mat here. And then bring the soles of your feet together, knees wide, and we'll do these Baddha Konasana bridge pulses again. So push into the pinky edge of your feet, lift your hips, and then lower. And just notice how we just keep coming back to the same path. We just return and return. Next time your hips lift, just keep them there and find those little pulses of your knees closer to each other and further away. Really grounding through that pinky toe edge of each of your feet. Your tailbones pointing towards your heels. And then let your hips come down. Left knee into your chest. Lengthen through that leg. Hold on to the back of your thigh. And circle there. And then push your thigh into your hands to rock yourself up. Right knee falls out to the right. And then you can find some circles with that left leg. So you're circling here in this hip joint. Finding a bend in your knees, pointing and flexing through your heel as you rotate around. And then you can switch directions. So this is happening through that whole leg. That whole chain, just loosening up through that left hip. And you can even bring your hands like I am into your hip crease and just feel that motion. Find some stillness in your leg. Reach your right arm back and come into your side plank. Right shin down. Reach that left arm up. Reach your left leg. And then ground and find your side bend. Remember that external rotation of that right arm. And if you want to find circles this time as you lift, you can circle that left leg one direction. And then the other, ground and side bend. Just feel this engagement as you lift. And then let yourself lengthen. Let's do one more. Find your side bend, and then plant your left hand down, lift your left heel, tuck those left toes, and then push into your hands, lift your your right knee into your chest. Ground through your shin, lengthen left arm, right leg. No. Left leg, right arm. Ground both hands, tuck those left toes, right knee into your chest. And just back and forth. Ground through that right shin. Keep both hands grounded with that left leg. And then step it outside your left hand. Find those circles in your low lunge. Right, and this movement all has integrated us right into our center. Right, we're moving with that core, but we're finding fluidity through our hips and shoulders. Tuck your back toes, lift that back heel. Lift your knee and then ground your heel for warrior two. Come on up into your warrior two to the left and adjust your feet. Find freedom through your pelvis. Look down at your left big toe. So your right knee's kind of tracking pinky edge of the foot. Find your side angle, and I'm just letting this bottom arm float. And then you can sweep around the horizon and open into your warrior two. And feel that connection from feet to pelvis to core, from shoulders to rib cage to core, right? Everything's integrated into each other. One more side bend. Come into your warrior two, parallel your feet, heels in, toes out. Give yourself a hug, left elbow underneath, sit into your goddess, and you can rock from side to side. And then find your circles here. Lift through your arches, those medial arches in your feet. And ground through your big toe ball mound. Ground through your pinky toe ball mound. Ground through your heel. Maybe find eagle arms with your circles here. And after you feel equal in each direction, reopen into that warrior two to the left. And find your side bend, and then open into your warrior two. And then find your side bend and just slide that right foot in a little, open to your shortened warrior two. Find your side bend, ground through that left heel, just let your left hand hover, and then float that right leg up into, a pretty simple half moon. It's not simple when your hand's floating, it's a lot harder, and then we'll step into that wide stance at the top of your mat. Heels in, toes out. Sway from side to side. And shift weight from heel to heel. And let yourself just get lower and lower. Just back and forth. We'll eventually make our way to a seat. Use your hands as much as you need to. And we'll come down. Go ahead and face the screen. We'll make our way into 90-90. So I'm going to bring my right leg down. So my right inner foot is pointing up. My pants are really matching my mat today. My left inner foot is down. My left leg is straight out. Now you can lean over to your right as much as you need to. If this is just too much in your hips, or you can put a block underneath your right hip. I want you to engage through that left glute, kind of push your left femur bone forward, and then deepen that left bum toward the floor. And after you've done that a time or two, you can sit up a little bit higher. Just feel what feels available to you. And then keep that left sitting bone working toward the floor. It doesn't have to get to the floor. And then you can turn toward it. Fold a little bit toward that left foot. And then turn toward your right thigh. Feel like you're pulling your right thigh up to bring your heart toward it. And then turn to your left thigh. And just little tiny folds. And then go ahead, we're going to ground through our heels. Lift your left knee. So find that external rotation, that left leg. And then we'll switch sides. So right femur bone's coming straight out from the right hip. My left leg's forward, so this is my inner foot. Ground through your right hand to the side as much as you need to kind of unload this right hip. And then engage through your glute to push that right femur bone forward and then drop it back. You can bring your hand onto that hip crease. So we're just moving here, right in this hip. And if that feels easy, you can bring that right hand in a little bit closer to bring your spine a little more upright. Or you could float your hand up off the floor altogether. And then ground through that right sitting bone toward the floor, any amount. And then you can turn to that right thigh and reach past it. And then turn toward your left and feel like you're pulling your leg toward you to fold. And we'll just go back and forth. Any amount. You're not pushing into the full extent of your flexibility here. You're doing this with integrity and control. And turn to face that right thigh, ground through your right heel, lift that right knee, come into center, and just find yourself kind of in this squat. You can flex through your feet and reach for the inner edges and lengthen your spine. So kind of like a happy baby, but we're sitting. Just find some symmetrical breath there. And then release your hands. You bring your hands behind you. You can find some windshield wipers of your legs or just lengthen them out and just shake them side to side. Just flap your feet. We'll make our way to our seat for our final meditation, which is going to be more like 10 minutes instead of 15. So get yourself set up in a way where your spine can be tall and your hips are as high as your knees or a little bit higher. So you can be sitting on a chair, just on the edge of a chair with a tall spine, your feet flat on the floor. You can stack some folded blankets or pillows and bring your sitting bones to the edge of those. If you have a cushion or a block, or if you want to take this lying down, you can set up props, pillows, bolster under your knees or the length of your spine. Just really find a place where you can feel supported And your body is not a distraction. Okay, you're not gripping. Your position is not bringing more tension into your body. And then let yourself just settle. You can let your eyes close or find something to look at with a really soft gaze. And just start to notice your breath and the quality of your breath. And feel your pelvis supported by whatever is underneath it. And from there, feel the whole length and weight of your legs. And feel any tingling or aliveness in your feet. Notice if there's any tension in your knees, your hip flexors. See if you can let go of anything that's excessive. Right? That you have the support you need, but you're not gripping anything. And from that supported pelvis, just feel your spine lengthen. Feel your heart open, feel your shoulders balanced over your pelvis. And feel the whole length and weight of your arms. Notice the tingling and aliveness in your hands. You can bring your thumb and first finger to touch, whether your palms are face down or face up, just to close the circuit of that energy flow. Feel your breath really softly expand your ribs just enough. And leave. Your breath does not have to be deep and forced here. Just gentle and easy. Lengthen the back of your neck, let your chin be parallel with the floor, soften your face. And find a little brightness of a smile. And just bring your whole body into your awareness. Just feel what it is to be alive. To live in a temple. You can start to attach the hum, sa mantra to your breath. Hum as you inhale. Sa as you exhale. And let your mind be soft. Let your eyes be soft. Not gripping or forcing anything. Just following this path of your breath. You can visualize yourself walking on a beautiful wooded path. Maybe spring in Virginia with the flowering trees and shrubs on either side of you. This easy path of your breath. And if you get off course, if you step to one side and get in the tangles and the brambles, you are not stuck or lost. Immediately, you can just return back on the path. Just that instantaneously. Just one step, one turnaround. Bring your hands together in front of your heart. Find a sense of a smile, a sense of gratitude, possibility for this new day. And divine light in me honors the divine light in you. Namaste. I hope you have a beautiful, wonderful day. Thank you, friends.